if you don't finish in 3 years, I will kill you.
But I've got a couple of follow-ups. How long did you work in industry and what did you do?
So I worked in industry for about 7 years. I mean, it depends how you count, because I did my PhD while I was employed in industry. So I came here with a master's degree. I came to Cambridge for an industrial research job in Cambridge. I came to Cambridge not particularly because it was Cambridge, but because I had interviewed in several places, and this was the one that was the most attractive, the most fun, and I thought that I would enjoy that. And my plan was just to be in an English-speaking place for a couple of years. Could have been the UK, could have been Ireland, could have been the US, could have been any other place where I would speak English, because I was not very smart, but I had at least understood that if I didn't have a good mastery of English, I would not be a player in the world scene. So I said, okay, I have the good technical skills, but English is my third language. I need to be fluent in English before I can do anything. So I came here, and I was in this lab, and this lab was full of very smart people, very dynamic things, doing very exciting stuff. And in the first few months, I realized I would never want to go back, because I'd never do anything as fun as that if I went back. And so I bought a house and blah, blah. And at the time, I had this master's degree, and I thought the PhD was a colossal waste of time. A PhD was for, you can beat me up, for wankers who just like being on a whiteboard and stuff, and fantasies, intellectual stuff, but nothing practical, right? And I wanted to do practical thing. I trained as an engineer, and I wanted to build things. And modesty aside, I was actually very good. I was one of the best in my course. And my professors told me, you would be a professor. I mean, we can see that in you. Would you want to do that? And I said that would feel quite dishonest, because if I'm going to teach people how to be engineers and build things, and I've never built things myself, that feels like cheat. I mean, I'm teaching them from the textbooks. They could read the textbooks themselves. So, I mean, it's flattering that you say that, and I actually feel I might enjoy that, but I don't think it's right for me to do it until I've been an engineer and done stuff and built things myself, because I had this urge to build things. So I came here wanting to build things, and thinking that people who just went from degree to more degrees, and then become professor were total fakes. And I didn't want to be any of that. Now, in this lab in Cambridge, Olivetti Research Lab, by the way, about half the people had PhDs. And they changed my perspective, because they were not the purely theoretical, do nothing practical type of people. They were people who were actually building things. And I understood more about what the PhD was about. And you're basically someone who's given a problem nobody solved before, and then you figure out how to solve it and overcome all the difficulties on the way to solving a problem that nobody solved before. And so because they had proved that, then they could be research scientists and so on. And I realized at that point that if I didn't have a PhD, I would always be the minion of someone with a PhD. I would not be, my own project leader. I would always be in someone else's project. And I said, okay, now that I understand what it's about, what's the problem? If what it takes is a PhD, I'm good. I'm going to go and get a PhD and then come back. So I looked out for a chance to do a PhD, and my parents had paid for me to be at university until then. It was very cheap. It's not like here. I mean, mostly state subsidized. And also I had always won bursaries for merit. So my parents didn't really have to pay anything for my studies other than my maintenance, of course. And I said, but now, okay, I'm a grown up. I've been working for several years. I think I'd been working for 5 or 7 years at the time. And I'm going to pay for this myself. Now, how do I pay for this? Because here it's quite expensive. And so I went around exploring ways of paying for it. I spoke with my boss, and my boss said, "Yeah, okay, well, are you sure? Because you have to quit if you want to go into a PhD. Well, good luck. I mean, you could do it, but look at your options seriously." So then I started probing, and someone offered me a scholarship to do a PhD, and that sounded to me like a scam. I mean, what's the catch? Why would people pay me to go to university? I mean, what's in it for them? And I thought this was a bit weird. In my naivete, I thought that everybody had to pay out of their own pocket. And I was prepared, a little savings. I think they wouldn't have been enough, but I was prepared to pay for it myself. Money is offered to me after speaking with enough people that convinced me that it was legitimate. Then I went back to my boss and said, "Okay, well, I got this offer, so I'm actually going to do it. What should we do? How do you determine it?" So my boss was kind of taken back from the fact that I actually had somehow raised this money. And he said, "Okay, well, actually," so he put another offer on the table that he would give me the money and I would continue as an employee at a reduced salary, because I would have the salary reduced to what you would get as a research assistant doing a PhD. And the company would own any results that I did, because I had worked as a research scientist in the company for enough that he knew that I had the potential of doing something useful with my PhD. So I'll keep you on as an employee at a reduced salary. Company owns your outputs, and your job is redefined as just get the F in PhD. And I said, "Okay, deal. Let's do that." And so this is something that I'll never forget. That he had done similar deals with other brilliant people that were employed there, and he had had some bad experiences of people taking forever to do this PhD. And so he said, "I'll make you this deal, and I'll pay for it, blah blah blah. But if you don't finish in 3 years, I will kill you." So that was the best thing that happened to me, because I had this very clear motivation to finish in a finite time, which basically none of my peers had. So of my peer group, I was the only one who submitted after 9 terms. Okay, the others went on for 5-6 years and so on. Wow. Everybody who started at the same time as me finished much later. The ones who were already students in my group when I was there maybe finished after I submitted my own, and so on. So it's great, because people think the PhD is like the end of the world. No, the PhD is just the first stepping stone onto a new part of your career. And it's not the thing you do for the rest of your life. It's the thing that proves to the world that you are a member of the world peer group of those scientists. You can make your own contribution. Now, go ahead and make it, right? The PhD is not your contribution. The PhD is the thing that proves you can make a contribution. Now go on and make your contribution. And so there's no point spending any more on it than is necessary. And it's a skill to be able to deliver things on time and by deadline. And so it was really useful for me to have this really firm deadline and to meet it. And also, before the end of my PhD, I had already been offered a lectureship at Cambridge and also a fellowship, an industrial fellowship in Japan. And so I had every reason in the world to want to complete as soon as possible. Also, unlike my colleagues who had gone into the PhD from basically doing other degrees, because I had lived in industry before for several years, I knew that every extra month I spent in there, my salary was lower than what I had otherwise. And so doing a PhD as a mature student had its challenges and was hard because everybody else was different. But I think it was beneficial, because I did what I did with a very clear purpose. Whereas I see many fantastically intelligent students, even my students, who do the PhD because they've always been the best at school, they've always been the best at university, got first, got promoted, got this, got that. And they just want to stay in the game so long as they win, but they don't want to get out because they've never seen what it's like outside, and they don't want to be in a place that doesn't have all these safety nets that you have in here. And so there's this psychological trap that once they should finish the PhD and then do something with their life and then become responsible and have a mortgage or have dependents and all that stuff. And it's so much easier just to be a student. They don't say that to themselves, but you can see. I mean, I can see from my viewpoint that that's what's going on in their subconscious. They don't want to finish because they want to keep on going like that, and it's terrible because they are super bright students, but something inside them stops them from finishing. No, I can't write up, and I only do 1 page a day, and it's this type of block which was I didn't suffer from because of all these other incentives I had for finishing, which was really a blessing for me to have.
I can see what you're saying. Perhaps, though, they also like the environments of academia, just like you do, having been in industry and then done your PhD. And then, did you become a lecturer here straight after your PhD?
Yeah, the zero postdoc stage.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting.